Company Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the court-ordered meeting of our company, UAC of Nigeria PLC. This meeting is being held virtually in the interests of public safety. The Company Secretary has advised me that in accordance with Article 65 of the company's Articles of Association, a quorum has been formed. This meeting has therefore been duly convened and properly constituted, and accordingly, I hereby declare the meeting open. My name is Daniel Agbo, and I am the non-executive chairman of your company. Pursuant to the court order convening this meeting, I have been appointed to act as chairman of the meeting. The following directors of UAC have joined the meeting virtually, and I'd like to introduce you to them one at a time. The first is Mr. Folashope Ayeshimoju, the Group Managing Director of UAC of Nigeria PLC. Also joining us virtually today is Dr. Vitus Ezinwa, the Chief Operating Officer of UAC of Nigeria PLC. And we also have with us today Mrs. Funke Ijaya Oladipo, the Group Finance Director of UAC of Nigeria PLC. Also joining us virtually today is Mrs. Suzanne Iroche, an independent non-executive director. We also have with us Dr. Umaru Alka, a non-executive director of your company. Also with us today, joining virtually, is Mr. Babatunde Kasali, a non-executive director. Dr. Okechukwu Mbonu, a non-executive director. And Mr. Bolaji Odunsi, also a non-executive director, UAC of Nigeria PLC. Mr. Toriola Olutokun, one of our independent non-executive directors, sends his apologies as he's unable to participate in today's proceedings. Also in attendance at today's meeting is Ms. Nkemdirim Agboti, our company's secretary and general counsel. I would now like to introduce the various professional parties who are advising us and assisting our company in taking the various steps necessary to implement the scheme of arrangement. These parties are Stanbic IBTC Capital Limited, the financial advisor, Banwo and Igodalo, the legal advisor, KPMG Advisory Services, the tax advisor, auditor, and scrutineer, Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers Limited and Cardinal Stone Securities Limited, who are stockbrokers to the scheme. And last but certainly not the least, Africa Prudential PLC, the registrars. I would also like to acknowledge the representatives of our regulators who have joined us at today's meeting. Mrs. Bosse Benga Fakeye, representing the Securities and Exchange Commission, and Mr. Sylvester Anaba, representing the Nigerian Exchange Limited. The Corporate Affairs Commission, an invitation was also extended to the Corporate Affairs Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that voting on the motion to be moved at this meeting will be by poll, which means that each shareholder who has submitted a proxy form within the designated time is entitled to one vote for every share that he or she or it holds in the company. In line with the order received from the Federal High Court to hold this meeting, the voting in these proceedings will be by proxy only. Several shareholders have sent in proxy forms ahead of this meeting, designating the persons who shall represent them in the voting here today. I now invite the registrars to provide the proxy report. Registrars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the purpose of this meeting, we received 413 valid proxies with a total of 1,642,744,640 units of shares, representing 57.01% of the issued share capital of UAC of Nigeria PLC. Thank you.
Thank you, Registrar. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this meeting has been convened pursuant to an order of the Federal High Court of Nigeria, granted on the 23rd of July, 2021, to enable the shareholders of UAC consider, and if thought fit, approve the proposed scheme of arrangement. I call on a representative of the legal advisor, Banwani Godalo, to read the court order directing that this meeting be held, as well as the notice of this meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. In the Federal High Court, holding at Lagos, Nigeria, before the Honorable Justice A. Aluko, Judge, suit number FHC LCS 878-2021, UAC of Nigeria PLC, RC 341 applicant. In the matter of an application under Section 715 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, number 3 of 2020, enrollment of order. Upon this originating summons, dated the 19th day of July 2021, coming before this Honorable Court, the 23rd day of July 2021, praying the court for the following reliefs. 1. An order directing the applicant to convene a meeting of its shareholders for the purpose of considering and, if thought fit, approving with or without modification the scheme of arrangement between the applicant and the holders of its issued and fully paid up ordinary shares, the scheme, in the form and context of the scheme documents annexed herewith. 2. An order directing that the meeting of the shareholders of the applicant be convened and held at 12th floor, UAC House, 125 Odolami Street, Marina, Lagos, or such other convenient venue as the directors of the applicant may determine on the 20th day of September 2021 at 10 a.m. or such other convenient date and or time as the directors of the applicant may determine. 3. An order that the meeting of the applicant shareholders, the meeting, be held and conducted and attended in any manner as the applicant's directors may deem fit, including through proxies appointed from a list of proxies designated by the board, or participation by telephone or other electronic means, or such other virtual or audiovisual communication facilities, having due regard to the prevailing circumstances and government guidelines on physical distancing, with a notice clearly specifying the instructions on how to access and participate in the meeting. 4. and order that Mr. Daniel Agbo, the chairman of the applicants, be appointed chairman of the meeting, or failing Mr. Daniel Agbo, that Mrs. Susan Olufunke Iruchi, an independent non-executive director of the applicant, or failing them both, any other director so appointed in their stead by the shareholders present at the meeting, shall act as chairman of the meeting and report the proceedings thereof to the court. B. Voting at the meeting shall be by way of poll. 5. An order directing that the shareholders of the applicant can vote at the meeting through their proxies appointed from the list of proxies designated by the board, registered emails or other electronic platforms, or such other virtual or audiovisual communication facilities as may be made available without requiring the shareholders or their proxies to physically assemble at a common venue. 6. An order directing that if the meeting approves the scheme by a majority not less than 3/4 in value of the shares of members being present and voting, either in person or by proxy, or via email, telephone, or other electronic means, or through virtual or audiovisual communication facilities, and thereafter, upon the approval of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the report of the court-ordered meeting be presented to this honorable court, along with the applicant's petition for an order of this honorable court to sanction the scheme, and for such other orders as the honorable court may deem fit to make in the circumstances. And upon reading affidavit in support of the motion paper, sworn to by Nkem Agoti, female, Christian, Nigerian citizen, the company secretary of UAC of Nigeria PLC, of UAC House 125 Onolami Street, Lagos, Nigeria, and the court having heard Adetayo Talabi for the applicant, moved in terms praying it to grant the relief sought, as endorsed on the motion paper dated 19th of July 2021, and the court having considered it deserving, granted the prayer sought. It is hereby ordered as follows. 1. An order is hereby made directing the applicant to convene a meeting of its shareholders for the purpose of considering and, if thought fit, approving with or without modification the scheme of arrangement between the applicant and the holders of its issued and fully paid ordinary shares, the scheme, in the form and context of the scheme documents annexed herewith. An order is hereby made directing that the meeting of the shareholders of the applicant be convened and held at 12th floor UAC House, 125 Odunlami Street, Marina, Lagos, or such other convenient venue as the directors of the applicant may determine on the 20th day of September 2021 at 10 a.m. or such other convenient date and or time as the directors of the applicant may determine. An order that the meeting of the applicant's shareholders, the meeting, be held and conducted and attended in any manner as the applicant's directors may deem fit, including through proxies appointed from a list of proxies designated by the board, or participation by telephone or other electronic means, or such other virtual or audiovisual communication facilities, having due regard to the prevailing circumstances and government guidelines on physical distancing, with the notice clearly specifying the instructions on how they access and participate in the meeting. 4. An order is hereby made that Mr. Daniel Agbo, the chairman of the applicants, be appointed chairman of the meeting, or failing Mr. Daniel Agbo, that Mrs. Susan Olufunke Iruchi, an independent non-executive director of the applicant, or failing them both, any other director so appointed in their stead by the shareholders present at the meeting, shall act as chairman of the meeting and report the proceedings thereof to the court. B. Voting at the meeting shall be by poll. 5. An order is hereby made directing that the shareholders of the applicant can vote at the meeting through their proxies appointed from the list of proxies designated by the board, registered emails or other electronic platforms, or such other virtual or audiovisual communication facilities as may be made available without requiring the shareholders or their proxies to physically assemble at a common venue. 6. An order is hereby made directing that if the meeting approves the scheme by a majority representing not less than 3/4 in value of the shares of members being present and voting, either in person or by proxy, or via email, telephone, or other electronic means, or through virtual or audiovisual communication facilities, and thereafter, upon the approval of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the report of the court-ordered meeting be presented to this honorable court, along with the applicant's petition for an order of this honorable court to sanction the scheme. Issued at Lagos under the seal of the court and the hand of the presiding judge, this 23rd day of July 2021, H.Y. Mbaya, Registrar. I'll now proceed to read the notice of meeting. Notice of court-ordered meeting. In the Federal High Court of Nigeria, holding at Lagos, suit number FHC LCS 878-2021, in the matter of the Companies and Allied Matters Act number 3 of 2020 as amended, and in the matter of an application under section 715 and 131 thereof, in the UAC of Nigeria PLC, RC 341 applicant. Notice is hereby given that by an order of the Federal High Court, hereinafter referred to as the court, dated this 23rd day of July 2021, here are some results from the web. Made in the above matter, the court has directed that a meeting of the holders of the issued and fully paid ordinary shares of UAC of Nigeria PLC, hereinafter referred to as UAC or the company, be convened for the purpose of considering and, if thought fit, approving with or without modification a scheme of arrangement proposed to be entered into between UAC and the holders of its fully paid ordinary shares. The scheme is explained in detail in the explanatory statement in the scheme document. A copy of the said scheme and a copy of the explanatory statements that each shareholder of the company is required to be furnished with pursuant to section 716 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act number 3 of 2020 as amended, can be found on pages 15 to 18 and pages 9 to 13 of the scheme document respectively. The court-ordered meeting of the shareholders of VAC will be held virtually on the 20th day of September at 10 a.m. At the court-ordered meeting, the following subjoined resolutions will be proposed and, if thought fit, passed as a special resolution of the company. 1. That the scheme document, including the proposed scheme of arrangement between the company and the holders of the ordinary shares of the company, the shareholders, pursuant to section 715 of CAMA, incorporating a reduction of capital under section 131 of CAMA, set out on pages 15 to 18 of the scheme document dated 15 July 2021 in its original form, or with or subject to such modifications, additions, or conditions agreed between the company and the shareholders, and or as approved or imposed by the court, the scheme be and is hereby approved. That the scheme be effected by the transfer of the units held by the company in UPDC Real Estate Investment Trust, UPDC REIT, to the eligible shareholders of the company as defined in the scheme document based on the application of the allocation ratio as specified in the scheme document. That pursuant to the provisions of section 131 of CAMA and in consideration for the transfer by the company to its shareholders of its entire unit in UPDC REIT, the company's share capital account shall be reduced by the sum of 3,896,355,966 naira, the share premium deduction amount, being the value of the transferred unit, through the reduction of its share premium account, and the share premium deduction amount shall be transferred into the UPDC REIT on bundling liability account. That in the event that the market value of the unit held by UAC in UPDC REIT, based on the price per unit reflected on the official list of the Nigerian Exchange Limited on the effective date, as defined in the scheme document, the final market value is lower than the share premium deduction amount, an amount representing the difference between the final market value and the share premium deduction amount shall be transferred from the UPDC REIT on bundling liability account into the company's reserve account or such other account as the board of directors of the company, the board, may deem fit and in compliance with applicable laws. That the solicitors of the company be directed to seek orders of the court sanctioning the scheme and the foregoing resolutions, as well as such incidental, consequential, and supplemental orders as are necessary or required to give full effect to the scheme, and that the board be and is hereby authorized to do all such other acts or things as may be necessary, incidental, consequential, or supplemental in order to give full effect to the scheme and the foregoing resolutions. By the said order, the court has appointed Mr. Daniel Agbo, or failing him, Mrs. Suzanne Olufunke Iruchi, or failing them both, any other director of the company present at the court-ordered meeting and appointed in their stead by the directors of the company present at the court-ordered meeting to act as chairman of the said meeting and has directed the chairman to report the results thereof to the court. Voting at the court-ordered meeting will be by poll. The scheme will be subject to the subsequent approval of the SCC and to the sanction of the court. Pursuant to the court order, In the interest of public safety and having due regard to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, COVID-19 guidance for safe mass gatherings in Nigeria and restrictions on public gatherings by the Lagos State government, the shareholders can only attend and vote at the meeting through their proxy. The proxies must be selected from any of the following individuals: Mr. Daniel Agbo, Mr. Folashope Aisimoju, Mrs. Babafunke Ijaya Oladipo, and Mr. Matthew Akinlade, the selected proxies. Shareholders can join the meeting and follow the proceedings remotely via real-time streaming options. The link for the live stream will be provided on the company's website at www.uacnplc.com. The selected proxies will vote on their own behalf, where such a proxy is a shareholder, as well as on behalf of the shareholders who selected them as proxies. Where a shareholder executes a proxy form without selecting a proxy or indicating how his or her shares should be voted, such proxy form will be deemed to be invalid. A proxy form is being sent to each shareholder. In the case of joint shareholders, the vote of the senior holder who tenders a vote, whether in person or by proxy, will be accepted to the exclusion of the votes of other joint holders, and for this purpose, seniority will be determined by the order in which their names stand in the register of members of UAC. It is requested that duly executed proxy forms, together with any power of attorney or other authority under which it is signed, or a notarized copy of such power of attorney or other authority, be lodged at the Office of Africa Prudential PLC, as shown on the proxy form, not less than 24 hours before the time appointed for the court-ordered meeting. The company has made arrangements at its cost for the stamping of the duly completed and signed proxy forms submitted to the company's registrars within the stipulated time. Shareholders are therefore encouraged to submit the proxy form well ahead of the meeting, in any event, no later than 24 hours before the time of the meeting. The qualifying shareholders may submit questions on the scheme to the company prior to the date of the court-ordered meeting. All such questions must be submitted to the company secretary via email to info@uacnplc.com, not less than 24 hours before the time appointed for the court-ordered meeting. Shareholders sending in their questions will be required to provide the following details along with their questions: full name as provided during the purchase of the shares, phone number and email address if available. A member entitled to attend the court-ordered meeting who does not receive a copy of the scheme document within 14 days of the date of this notice can obtain copies of same from the registrars of UAC, Africa Prudential PLC, 220B Ikorodu Road, Palm Grove, Lagos. Copies of the scheme document will also be available for download on the company's website, www.uacnplc.com. Closure of register of members. Entitlement to attend and vote at the court-ordered meeting or any adjournment thereof, and the number of votes which may be cast thereat will be determined by the reference to the contents of the register of members of the company as at 8 September 2021, after which the register will be closed for the purposes of the court-ordered meeting. Changes to or entries in the register of members after that date and time shall be disregarded for the purposes of the court-ordered meeting. Dated this 20th day of August 2021, Nkem Dirim Agboti, UAC of Nigeria PLC, UAC House, 125 Odunlami Street, Lagos, Company Secretary, Bawa Nigodalo, 48 Aulor Road, Southwest Ikoyi, Lagos, solicitors to the company. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Musa Sadiq. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will be referring to the scheme document which you received prior to this court-ordered meeting. The scheme document contains the following. 1, an explanatory statement from the financial advisor to the proposed scheme of arrangement, specifying the terms, the reasons for, and the effect of the proposed scheme of arrangement. The explanatory statement can be found on pages 9 to 13 of the scheme document. The scheme document also contains the scheme of arrangement itself, which is set out on pages 15 to 18, and also includes an appendix that is set out on pages 19 to 30 that provides further information on UAC. Also included in the scheme documents appendix 81 to 37, and which provides further information on the UPDC Real Estate Investment Trust. The registrar has confirmed that the scheme document, together with the notice convening this meeting and the proxy forms for use at this meeting, were sent electronically to all shareholders with valid email addresses and physically to other shareholders of the company. The notice of this meeting was also published in 2 national daily newspapers, i.e., Business Day and The Guardian. I now lay the scheme document before you, taking it as read. The scheme document incorporates the notice convening the meeting, which has just been read out to all of us by Mrs. Musa Sadiq, amongst other things. As you have seen from the notice convening this meeting, the purpose of the meeting is to consider and, if thought fit, approve, with or without modification, a proposed scheme of arrangement under Section 715 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 as amended. And the scheme incorporates a reduction of share capital under Section 131 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say a few words at this point on some key aspects of the proposed scheme of arrangement, and in particular, it's the reasons for the scheme and the envisaged effects. Now, the reason why this scheme is being recommended to the shareholders for approval is that further to a strategic review that was carried out in 2018, the board and management of UAC concluded that it would be in UAC's best interest to exit from its investments in the real estate sector in order to focus on the sectors that align with the company's core strategy. To this end, in 2020, UAC reduced its ownership in UPDC PLC from 93.86% to 42.85%, following the sale of a 51% stake in UPDC to Custodian Investment PLC. UPDC also unbundled its holdings in UPDC Real Estate Investment Trust, i.e., which we refer to here as the UPDC REIT or the REIT, to all its shareholders. And on the 31st of December 2020, UAC, as a shareholder of UPDC, received 649,392,661 UPDC REIT units. In line with UAC's strategy, as I have just mentioned, and in furtherance of the objective of improving the trading liquidity of the UPDC REIT, the board has now decided to transfer its UPDC REIT units to the shareholders of UAC. Now, in terms of the benefits of the scheme, the unbundling that we are here today to approve is expected, or to consider, and if thought fit, approve, is expected to provide the following benefits to UAC's shareholders. The first benefit is a direct exposure to the REIT and its diversified portfolio of income-generating assets. Eligible shareholders shall be entitled to any dividend, bonus issues, and other distributions and rights made by UPDC REIT after the effective date of the scheme. The second expected benefit of the scheme is an increase in the free float and the liquidity of the units of the REIT, and that will ultimately be beneficial for all unit holders of the REIT. And just to state that upon the proposed scheme of arrangement becoming effective, i.e. after the effective date, UAC will cease to hold any units in the REIT. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to give you the opportunity to ask questions and to make comments on the scheme. Shareholders on the YouTube streaming platform are welcome to type questions in the comments window of the streaming page. Please include your name in your comments so that you can be appropriately recognized. For the designated proxies, please click the raise your hand feature on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Once called upon, please unmute your microphone and ask your question. To assist us in giving appropriate responses, we'd appreciate it if you could refer to the page in the scheme document to which your question relates, where applicable. And members, we'd also be grateful if members could kindly ensure that their comments are as brief as possible. And if you could please restrict your questions to one question per person so that the contributions of as many shareholders as possible can be addressed. I now call on the Group Managing Director of the company, Mr. Folashope Ayeshimoju, to facilitate the question and answer session. Mr. Ayeshimoju.
Thank you, Chairman. The first question we have is, I'm not sure if it's related to UAC generally or to this particular proposed scheme, and it's from Jakai Okuhakalu. Oh, some Olarewaju Omoni, apologies. Since 2014, no dividend has been paid into my father's account. I can confirm that UAC has paid, assuming the question related to UAC, has paid several dividends in this time frame. And if it's the UPDC REIT this refers to, there have also been several distributions. I would urge that the registrars please note the name Olarewaju Omoni, and for Olarewaju to also please contact the registrars to figure out why dividends have not accrued to the relevant accounts. Thank you. Again, shareholders on the YouTube channel wishing to ask questions should please type these onto that portal, and they would be with their names. I'll read out the question and attempt to respond. And the designated proxies should please raise their hands, and they'll be called upon to ask questions. The next question is from Abdullahi Suleiman, and it is, what will be the long-term benefit of UPDC REIT unbundling for UACN shareholders? So from Abdullahi Suleiman, what will be the long-term benefit of UPDC REIT unbundling for UAC shareholders? UPDC REIT is a listed instrument that is dedicated to making attractive investments in the real estate sector of Nigeria. It's managed by Stanbic IBTC Pensions, Stanbic IBTC Asset Management, sorry, and the fund manager attempts to balance ongoing distributions with long-term capital appreciation. So holders of these units would have a liquid instrument, which they can buy or sell through their brokers, managed by a fund manager that would aim to grow value over time, and by the REIT's governing document will receive regular distributions. This is enshrined in the governing document of the REIT. The next question is from Henry Waje, representing his father. who is also raising the issue of dividends, and his father has not received any dividends in the past 15 years. Again, I would kindly ask that the registrars note the name Henry Waje, and that Henry please also reach out to our registrars, Africa Prudential PLC. UAC has paid several dividends in this time frame, and the registrars have appropriate records, and we'll be able to get to the bottom of this. The next question doesn't have a name attached to it, so I can't recognize the shareholder. And it's good morning. Please, into which of my CSS accounts will my UPDC REIT units be credited, assuming I have 2 accounts? I don't know the answer to this question. I'll urge you to reach out to your stockbrokers for a definitive response. But my assumption would be to be through the same account in which your UAC shares are held. But please reach out to your stockbroker to be 100% certain about that one. The next question is from Charles Ezechedo, and it is an identical question: which CSCS account will the REIT units be credited to? And I assume it'll be the same CSCS account in which the UAC units are held, but your stockbroker will confirm this for you. The next question is from David Solomon, and it is, what is the qualification date? This is captured in the scheme document. It is 3 days before the effective date. And the simple reason is because it takes sort of 3 days to settle trades in public company shares in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the effective date is impossible to determine definitively now, because following this meeting, should shareholders approve, we need to go through further regulatory approvals and get a sanction of the court. The effective date will be the date on which a certified true copy of the court sanction is registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and the effective date will be 3 days before. We anticipate this to be sometime in mid-November, but the timing of the various approvals will determine the exact effective date, and 3 days before with the qualification date. Chairman, I received the note there are no further questions at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ayeshimaju. I would now like to call on the company secretary to take us through the modalities of voting for this meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. As stated earlier, the voting on the resolutions will be by poll, and every shareholder who has submitted a proxy form within the designated time will be entitled to 1 vote for every share that he or she or it holds. The motion to be voted upon may only be carried out by special resolution. That is, the statutory majority required to approve the proposed scheme of arrangement is a majority representing not less than 3/4 of the number of shares covered by the proxy forms duly received. The subjoined proposed resolutions to be considered, and if thought fit, passed as a special resolution, are contained in the notice for this meeting on pages 44 to 46 of the scheme document. I will now read the subjoined resolutions for consideration. 1, that the scheme document, including the proposed scheme of arrangement between the company and the holders of the ordinary shares of the company, the shareholders, pursuant to Section 715 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, incorporating a reduction of share capital under Section 131 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, set out on pages 16 to 19 of the scheme document dated 15 July 2021 in its original form, or with or subject to such modifications, additions, or conditions agreed between the company and the shareholders and or as approved or imposed by the court. The scheme be and is hereby approved. 2, that the scheme be effected by the transfer of units held by the company in UPDC Real Estate Investment Trust, UPDC REIT, to the eligible shareholders of the company as defined in the scheme document based on the application of the allocation ratio as specified in the scheme document. 3, that pursuant to the provisions of Section 131 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, and in consideration for the transfer by the company to its shareholders of its entire units in the REIT, the company's share capital account shall be reduced by the sum of 3,896,355,966 naira, the share premium reduction amount, being the value, the share premium deduction amount, being the value of the transferred units through the reduction of its share premium account, and the share premium deduction amount shall be transferred into the UPDC REIT unbundling liability account. 4, that in the event that the market value of the units held by UAC in UPDC REIT, based on the price per unit reflected on the official list of the Nigerian Exchange Limited on the effective date as defined in the scheme document, that is, the final market value, is lower than the share premium deduction amount, an amount representing the difference between the final market value and the share premium deduction amount shall be transferred from the UPDC REIT unbundling liability account into the company's reserve account or such other account as the board of directors of the company, the board, may deem fit and in compliance with applicable laws. 5, that the solicitors of the company be directed to seek orders of the court sanctioning the scheme and the foregoing resolutions, as well as such incidental, consequential, and supplemental orders as are necessary or required to give full effect to the scheme. And 6, that the board be and is hereby authorized to do all such other acts or things as may be necessary, incidental, consequential, or supplemental in order to give full effect to the scheme and the foregoing resolutions.
I think we may have lost the chairman, so let's give him a second to dial back on. Okay, he's back on.
Yes, I'm back on. Apologies for that. Technology is a very useful thing, but it's not perfect. Thank you, Mr. Boti, for reading the notice of the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby move the motion that the subjoined proposed resolutions just read by the company secretary be approved. Does anyone wish to second the motion?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Matthew Akinlade. I hereby second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akinlade. I would now like to put the motion to the meeting. Shareholders, the meeting is before you, sorry, the resolution, the motion incorporating the resolution to be considered and if thought fit approved is now before you for consideration. Registrar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To approve the subjoined resolutions for the proposed unbundling of UAC of Nigeria PLC's 649,392,661 units in UPDC Real Estate Investment Trust. The result of the poll is as follows. The entire 413 valid proxies with a total of 1,642,744,640 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies, voted in favor of the subjoined resolutions. There is no vote against the subjoined resolutions, and there is no abstention. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Registrar. Ladies and gentlemen, based on the results of the poll just read to announce to us by the registrars, I hereby declare the motion before the meeting as having been unanimously carried. The report of the result of this meeting will be filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission for its final approval. Following the grant of the final approval by the Securities and Exchange Commission, a copy of the results will be submitted to the Federal High Court to enable that court to sanction the scheme of arrangement. And the court sanction, a copy of the court sanction, will then be filed at the Corporate Affairs Commission as required under the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The announcement of the results of this meeting has brought us to the conclusion of the business of this court-ordered meeting. I thank you all on behalf of the Board of Directors of UAC for taking the time to attend this meeting. And I now declare this court-ordered meeting closed. All right, thank you, everyone. Nice seeing you all. Thanks for all your hard work in making the arrangements for the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks all.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Vital, for dropping off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, Mr. Chair.